putting them in. Yes, good, great, we're recording. Putting them into a format whereby they can be printed out. In other words, his speeches can be printed out. And this gives us a huge new window into the teachings of Ernest. We have also separately taken all of the Ernest's speeches at Silomar and digitized all those and put it in a book. And that book is just being published today. And you can get it from Amazon, or if you happen to be going to Silomar, you can get it up there. It's all new stuff. I mean, if you've been to Silomar back in the 50s, maybe you heard these. Otherwise, and this is the archive doing the publishing here with CSL's publications group. So we're doing some very exciting things. But today we're going to be listening to Ernest, and the title, if you can imagine, is "Where is God?" Pretty good question. And what you're going to be hearing is he's going to start out by saying, these are kind of rough, tough times. Does that sound familiar to anybody? He said there are threats of war and poverty and etc. And, where is God in all this? And of course, the answer was given back last month, if you attended last month, which was called The Mind That Is Within You. So you have to listen kind of carefully. The mind that is within you is the mind of God. And he's going to talk about several things. Let me just give you a couple teasers, which ends up being questions. He's going to give an analogy of a spoon and a newspaper. Okay, then maybe you should. Martha, Emily now has an echo issue. But, so does anybody know the analogy of the spoon and a newspaper? Well, you're about to learn it. And it's a really good analogy. It's got to do with confusion. And that's something you'll be learning. He quotes Jesus a few times, not because the word of Jesus is, Jesus is speaking the universal truth, let's put it that way. It's not the word of Jesus that is because Jesus is God. That comes from another branch of Christianity, but from the fact that Jesus speaks universal truth, and that universal truth is available to us all. So I will now, we have an invocation, and Emily, why don't you, Emily will be giving the invocation. So maybe I ought to turn that off. Okay, you're good.
Oh, let's take a nice cleansing breath as we relax into the present moment. Here in the eternal moment of now, let us turn within and drop into our heart space, where divine light, divine love reside. Let us open our heart doors to receive the love, the light, and the presence that is in, as, and through each and every one. And so with a grateful heart, I give thanks for this sacred time together and the wisdom we're about to receive as we listen to Dr. Ernest Holmes. I give thanks and gratitude for this Lunch and Learn, for the archives, and for the teachings of Ernest Holmes. And so with a grateful heart, I say thank you, thank you, thank you for this and so much more. and together we anchor this with, and so it is.
All right. Well, thank you, Emily, for the invocation. Without further ado, I think we are ready. I think it's about 14 minutes of listening to Dr. Ernest Holmes talk about where is God. Reverend Martha, do you want to start the process? Yeah.
Our topic is Where is God by Ernest Holmes. We all know that an unhappy
Can't hear.
Yeah, I can't hear either, Martha.
One minute.
It started out good and then it dropped way down.
Okay, hold on. Let me try this again. Okay. And do a screen share.
We seem to have some gremlins today.
We do.
Our topic is Where is God by Ernest Holmes. We all know that an unhappy person wants to be happy. An impoverished person wishes to become enriched. The sick man wants to be healed. And the lonely person wants love and friendship. These are fundamental needs of the human being. And back of them is the need we all have to feel safe and secure in this world and in the world to come. Nothing has happened really to human nature since Jesus walked the earth. We have made many scientific discoveries and life is easier to live, but our fundamental needs haven't changed a particle. It doesn't do much good to have a washing machine in the house or a fireless cooker if we are still filled with worry and anxiety over what is going to happen tomorrow. There is something lacking when we are surrounded by everything that science has produced, and still we feel as unwhole as ever. No, our real problems haven't changed. We merely seem to have multiplied them. There is something missing somewhere, and we all know it. For you can hardly pick up a magazine or a newspaper without finding reference to our need for God. It seems as though we have to start all over again and find something that really will make life worthwhile, something that will give back to us a sense of well-being, something that will make us feel that we no longer need to suffer the fear and the uncertainty of the future. You and I are among those who are making this inquiry, and we shall not be satisfied until we find an answer. But it isn't as though the answer hadn't been given a long time ago, when Jesus, who brought to earth the presence of the living Spirit, told us that our first claim is upon God. And I suggest that we give his idea consideration. For if this claim is true, then there is an answer to our problems, and this answer will come when we link our individual lives with the one perfect life, which is God. Let's try this then, and start first with our own minds. Where did we get them? How is it that we can think? Why are we conscious? Nothing is more certain than that we never made our own minds. We never created our own ability to think. When the Bible says that God is one, and Emerson tells us that there is but one mind common to all individual men, they are telling us that there is but one mind. That mind is God, and that mind is our mind now. Let's keep this very simple and direct. There is but one mind. That mind is God, and that mind is our mind. And this mind responds to us. But since it is mind responding to mind, how could it respond other than through our own belief? Well, of course it couldn't. And so Jesus told us that when we ask for divine guidance, we should believe that we will receive it. To put this into actual practice, it means if you have a problem, the way to get the right answer is to affirm that God already knows the answer, and that because God knows it, you do. But how seldom we do this. We are more liable to say, I have a problem to which there is no answer. God may know the answer, but I don't. Here we are mixing a positive statement with a negative one, and instantly we become a house divided against itself. Try this sometime when you're confronted with a problem, and instead of saying, I have a problem that I cannot meet, say to yourself, I have a problem that I can meet. Something in me, something in my own mind, something closer than my very breath is leading and guiding and directing me right now, and is telling me the answer to this problem. Say, the mind of God in me knows the answer. When you do this, you will find new thoughts and new ideas begin to flow up through your thinking, which will give you the solution to your problem. Think and act and live as though the answer were coming up into your conscious mind right now. You see, it isn't enough to say that God is all there is. It isn't enough to say that there is one life and that life is God. This statement is not complete so far as we are concerned until we say, there is one life, that life is God, that life is my life. Right now, right here, within me. There is but one intelligence in the universe. It made you and it made me. And through us, it made the toy balloon and the steam engine. It was always the one mind doing these things. And each one of us using this mind individualizes it. There is one intelligence in everything that responds to us the way we use it. In every cell of the physical body, there is a divine intelligence responding to us. And this intelligence is a lower form of mind stuff and energy, mind creativity that always responds to the higher form. And in this instance, the higher form of intelligence is our conscious awareness, our conscious thinking, the mind that we are using every day. This mind stuff is in every atom, and it is in every cell of our body, in every organ and function. It is constantly responding to our affirmations and our denials of life. This divine intelligence has created this physical body so that it runs automatically when it isn't interfered with. But our conscious minds are continuously interfering with this divine pattern. And so we are in conflict with ourselves and the lower forms of intelligence that make up this physical body. And our thought unconsciously is continuously disturbing them. And we are not aware of it. But the creativity of our own mind is remolding even the physical structure of this body in accordance with the things that we are thinking. There is a mind stuff in every cell of the body which responds to our thinking, and in a sense becomes confused when we think negatively. For instance, let's take the ordinary occurrence of eating our food. We sit down with a fork in one hand and a newspaper in the other. Perhaps there is a startling headline, 20 people are killed in an airplane crash. A train has run off the tracks. A new war has started somewhere. Someone suddenly drops dead from heart trouble. Everything is wrong. Well, we have the newspaper in one hand and a fork or a spoon in the other, and the intelligence in every morsel of food that goes into the physical system, and the intelligence in the cells and in the organs of the physical body are confused by the messages they are receiving from the newspaper we are reading. They are not reading the newspaper, but we are almost in a literal sense reading it to them. And our minds are transmitting all these negations to our process of digestion. And we really are saying, nothing is right, everything is wrong, there is nothing but calamity, nothing but bad luck and misfortune everywhere. So we get an echo from the inside of us which says, nothing is right, I don't even know how to digest this food. And then we get a funny feeling in our stomach and we say, oh, my poor stomach. I don't digest my food properly. I must find another kind of a diet. And so we try the new diet. But we still have the spoon or fork in one hand and the newspaper in the other. And the new diet doesn't agree with us any better than the old one. Remember, the mind stuff in you is combining with the mind stuff in your digestive tract. And whether or not this food is going properly to assimilate will largely depend on your thinking. Now let's reverse this whole process and sit down quietly and calmly at the table and begin to think how wonderful it is that we have the privilege of eating. How wonderful it is to realize that there is an intelligence within us that does know how to digest our food. We really haven't anything to do with it anyway. A power greater than we are is doing it. Now happy we are that this is so. Then the messages that go out from our conscious thinking through the food and into the subconscious reaction of the body will be happy ones. Of course, we want to simplify this whole thing, and we don't want to have to spend many hours every day thinking about our digestion or our hearts or livers or our lungs. We don't want to be self-conscious about them at all because that isn't good. That depresses them. So we have to find a few simple affirmations that will be like a blanket coverage, sort of a general insurance policy that everyone needs. This simple coverage would be something like this. There is a divine life in every atom of my being. Every cell is alive with this life. This life is one life, therefore every atom of my being, every cell of my body is in harmonious unity with this life. There is one life, that life is God. That life is my life, and that life is perfect. It is harmonious, it is happy, it is whole. Not only do our physical bodies respond intelligently to our affirmations, everything in life does. Our success, our happiness, our ability to get along with others, everything is included in the one mind that flows through all things. It is impossible for a person to find happiness if he looks for unhappiness. It is difficult to find success if one looks only for failure. It is impossible to find love if we are looking for hate. We don't have to take time to affirm that this person or that person or some other person is going to like us, but we do have to take time to say, I am one with all people. There is nothing in me that dislikes anyone. Our complete coverage here will be to daily affirm that everything we do and say and think is inspired by divine wisdom. And we do have time to affirm these things every day. Everyone has the time if he will take it. The mind that is in us is the same mind that is the mind of God, for there is but one mind. And when the mind within us meets this mind, should come together in harmony, in joy, and in peace. We do have time to say, I am being directed by divine intelligence, which always moves in love and harmony. I always establish right relationships between myself and what I am doing. We do have the time to say, every good and constructive thing that I think about finds fulfillment. There is one presence in which I live and move and have my being, which prepares the way for me. This is what Jesus meant when he said that we should seek the kingdom of God first, for the kingdom of God is a kingdom of wholeness. It is a kingdom of love and harmony. When we look about us and see the great array of things this intelligence is doing, the tree, the plant, the animal, the sunset, we realize that this intelligence flows into everything, makes everything exactly what it is. And so we should practice always the affirmation of this divine intelligence flowing through us, flowing through everything, and making everything in our lives what they ought to be. And to you and me, who are using this divine causation, this infinite, perfect thing within and around us, it should be as something warm and colorful and intimate. I think this is one of the secrets, that we are not only one with the divine law of good, we are one with a living spirit of a divine presence of love, of truth and beauty, more intimate to us, as the Talmud said, than our own neck vein. And as the Bible says, in him we live and move and have our being.
All right. Well, that should evoke quite a bit of discussion in our breakout groups. And we're about to do the breakout groups now. And after the breakout groups, then we'll come back, and anybody that wants to contribute can raise their hand and say what they thought about Ernest Holmes' message. So, Martha, does that mean we're ready to go to breakout rooms?
Yes, sir. We'll be in breakout rooms for, how long would you like the breakout rooms to be in?
Well, normally it's at least 10 or 15 minutes, isn't it?
Yes, we can go 15 minutes, and here we go.
Very good. All right, we'll see you in the gym discussion.
And this is our question answer session. And all I would ask is if you have questions or a comment you'd like to make about the conversation, please raise your Zoom hand, and you'll find it at the bottom of the screen under reactions. There's a little button that says raise hand. And that way we know you would like to. And we have our first question, Dr. Van Cleve.
I'm sorry, it's not showing up on my screen.
Yes, it's Marjorie Shalita. And I will pin you, Marjorie, and she'll be here.
Hello.
Go ahead, Marjorie.
Hi. Hello. In our group, we had a wonderful discussion, and some of the things that we were asking, or we are asking questions about, first of all, when was this when were these words spoken? And in terms of Dr. Holmes, that we know, or we think we know, that he had said that he expected that the teaching would live beyond him, and that that things would be open at the top, and that the teaching would evolve, even though the principles might be the same, but the conditions in which the future would be unfolding might be different. And so we were asking ourselves, if Ernest Holmes were alive today and were interested in writing a new book or revising the old one or whatever, how would he be, what kinds of messages and language, and how would he be speaking today in terms of expressing the universal principles in terms of the conditions that we live in now? And we didn't come up with an answer, but we had a wonderful discussion. Thank you.
Well, I'd like to say something there. I'm a theologian, and I've studied Ernest in a development way, which means his early books from 1915 or so, all the way up to his last book in 1960 before he died, and to see if he changed anything from, say, take Creative Mind. The Creative Mind, I think, came out in 1917, and he republished it in 1957, and he wrote down in the front of it what changed in the last, whatever it is, 60 years. And two things did change. One is, in 1917, he said, when you make a treatment or something, you hold that thought. And by the time, another 50 years later, he realized that that's too many thoughts to hold. You don't really need to do that. Release that thought. And there were a couple of other minor things. But my feeling is, well, I think he would, since his teachings are so applicable today, I'm not sure what he'd change. So, and he said in one of his books that he's not coming back, as he's not being reincarnated. He's not even going to visit. Because he's going to the next plane and he's going to be happy there. And so we can't conjure him up or something.
Wow.
But anyway, the Asilomar book, I haven't read that yet, so we'll see what he did. If you have the Celestial Voice Celestial, his very, very last book that he wrote with his brother, Fenwick, that's his last book. And he changed some things radically in that last chapter. He basically, previously, he thought St. Paul was dead on right. And by the time his life was over, he said Paul was not right. Just read that last chapter sometime and see what he's got to say about Paul. So there's some shifts there. Anyway, I'm sorry. Let's look at some more hands here. Thank you, Margaret.
Thank you. You're welcome.
I see a Charlie 213. Charlie, you're muted.
Well, actually, we have Daryl Arney, who's up next.
Oh, I'm sorry, Daryl. Yes.
Hi, Daryl. Good to see you.
Daryl, you're muted. Yeah.
Good afternoon. I see a lot of my New Mexican friends, Martha being one of them, Alicia being another. Great seeing you guys. I just love this message, and it just reinforced. I think it's timeless. What he said back whenever that was, several years ago, when that was actually spoken. But I do believe his message was the kingdom of heaven is within, and our goal is on this earth is make that connection, and that connection to that kingdom that's within us all. Challenge is we have some conflicting thoughts, and I think his metaphor about reading the newspaper and also trying to do something else at the same time. We have the ego part of us that interferes with this connection, and I think what I've learned in my own life through meditating for many years is to make that connection is quieting the mind and be still. I think there's a Psalm 46:10 actually says that, be still and know that I am God. So I found that his message was right on point, timeless. What I'm trying to do at this point in my life is make that connection with God on a regular basis and stay tuned in. I tune out sometimes. I'm in and out, kind of like a yo-yo in a way. So the challenge for me in particular, and I think for many humankind, is first of all the great realization that there really is a God, and a God lives within us all, and the joy is discovering over a spiritual life or spiritual journey is to stay connected with that wonderful force, if you will, and the force of love.
Well, thank you, Daryl. Yeah, I love that. Now I still see Charlie 213. Martha, can we get him?
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Absolutely. Hold on. Let me send Charlie right into the middle here.
Can you hear me?
Hi, yes, we can. Welcome.
Okay. Jim, I have a question. I didn't get the name when you talked about St. Paul and the name of the book that Ernest corrected his views on St. Paul. I'd be interested in that because I wrote a book on the dynamics of living love based on St. Paul. So I'd like to know what he had to say.
Well, the book is called The Voice Celestial.
Oh, The Voice Celestial. So he changed that?
I think it's Voice Celestial. I can go dig it out. And it's co-authored by him and Fenwick Holmes, his brother. And his brother was a congregational minister. So between the two of them, so what they did was they took the entire history of philosophy and they put it in poetic form.
Yeah, I'm very familiar with The Voice Celestial. I just wanted to know what the reference was that changed his opinion about love. taught by Paul?
Well, again, you can read the last chapter and maybe figure it out, but it looks like Paul was the founder of Christianity, not Jesus. I mean, Paul wrote his letters decades before the Gospels were written, and the Gospels were influenced by Paul's writing, normally through Saint Mark and Peter, Saint Peter, because they both worked for Paul. They both did things for Paul, and Paul taught them that the only way the Romans are going to accept Christianity as a religion is Jesus has to be God, not just a teacher. Jesus just said he's a teacher. That's all he ever claimed to be. You got to make him the Messiah, and you got to make him God, or the Roman Empire will not accept your religion, and we will prosecute anybody that's a true Christian. It took them 4 centuries to get that done, but they got it done. And Ernest figured this out at the last minute. I mean, literally a month before he died. And I think he was just too tired after he lost his wife. After he lost Hazel 2 years before that, he was struggling.
Yeah, he went through a depression. But I'm still, I guess I'm missing the point on St. Paul, because in reference in the Bible, Jesus kind of avoided the question about who do you say I am? And of course, our teaching says we're all come from the same source. So in that sense, we're all gods. If anyone's a god, we're all gods.
Mm-hmm. Well, as John's letters also say, now you are all gods. The Bible does say everybody's a god.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you.
Yeah, thank you,
Charles. What other hands do we see up? We've only got a few minutes left. Any other contributors?
We don't have any hands right now, Dr. Van Cleve, but may I take this message, take a moment to just talk about the Science Mind Archives?
Yes.
Let me throw myself there into the middle here. There's a question in the chat. Where can we learn more about Paul? I like that. Hang on. It says, where can we learn more about Paul's influence on Christianity? And that's from Felix Diaz.
Well, there are several books out there. And Paul himself, and if you just go back and look at Galatians, Paul himself says that he never talked to the disciples, except one of them, James. And so he kind of Paul explains where he was coming from right in his letters. But that's another book that I guess I haven't written yet, but it's to be done. But you can get a lot out of the Bible just by reading Paul's letters and figuring out what was going on. Well, any more questions?
Yes, there is. There's another question from Marjorie Shalita. She says, what about the history of philosophy that has been ongoing since Holmes, specifically being open at the top invites inclusion and integration and helps to ward off fundamentalism?
Well, it's open at the top because it's a science. Now, every single science there is out there is open at the top. It would be crazy not to be, because new stuff and new experiments and new findings continually happen. And that's what Ernest said. We are truly a science. And when new things come along and new wisdom comes along and new Dead Sea Scrolls or something come along, then we're going to look at that and we're going to incorporate it if it's true, or if it appears to be true. So that's what he meant by open at the top, it's scientific. That's what we try to be. We've integrated, look at the things we've integrated into our teachings, our daily teachings. Certainly medicine. As Ernest said, take a pill, take it. Martha?
Oh, well, Marjorie had another comment. She said, perhaps what had changed is an evolution in consciousness from emphasis, the individual to the collective. So
well,
there was
I like that. Of course, it has to start with the self, the individual. Ernest was very and then it goes on. I think he said there are 4 levels. You got yourself, you got your family, you got your community, and you got the whole world. And those are the 4 levels of what that you've got to work on. But if you get the self right, all the rest of it will fall into place. He said that somewhere. I could go find it. Charlie, I used to have one more thing. Or?
Yeah, what I like was he was taught by Emma Curtis Hopkins. And if you open at the top, but you're tied to a belief system, you're not open. So when our belief systems get challenged and we can spiritually move on from that exclusiveness that our belief systems create, then we enter into a consciousness of inclusiveness, into the absolute certainty that we are expressions of love and light and power.
Well said. Another way Ernest said it is you get one with God and then you become one with everyone.
Yeah, thank you, Jim.
Any other?
Well, I wanted to take a moment and just, Dr. Christina is talking about that. Thank you, Dr. Christina. Just talk a little bit about our website. If you want to know more about the Science of Mind archives, please, please, please go to the website. It's Science of Mind Archive, somarchives.org. And on it, it's Science of Mind Archives. I misspoke. It's scienceofmindarchives.com. There you'll find information about the Lunch and Learns. You'll also find information about the new book, which is Ernest Holmes at Asilomar, and a special shout to Reverend Mark Gilbert, who has done so much work in terms of gathering all of the information for when Dr. Holmes was at Asilomar. And so Reverend Mark will be at Asilomar this year, and he will be selling this book. So if you are at Asilomar and you want to have one of the first copies, that's the place to go. And then finally, I can't say enough, there are a lot of recordings that we had at the archives had uncovered quite a few recordings, and our executive director, Reverend Kathy Mastriani, she's such a dynamo. She's gathered all of these volunteers, and they've been doing digital recordings. So it would be worth it. And this is one of the reasons I joined the archives, is it's so worth it to become a member, to be able to listen to all of these recordings that we listen to once a month. We've been listening once a month to recordings that no one has heard in this time. And so those recordings are there, the writings are there. And again, the staff at the archives are doing such an incredible job of making this available to us. And I know sometimes I just go and I sit and listen to Dr. Holmes, and even though he's been gone a while, I still consider him one of my ministers, because talks like today, and it's like, yeah, I'm one of those that eats while I read the paper, and I'm not going to do that anymore. No way. So anyway, so thank you for that, and thank you, Dr. Jim Van Cleve, for being with us today, and thank you for all your hard work as the president of our board. Dr. Jim does so much work at the archives, and I personally appreciate that, and appreciate all the work that you do to keep Ernest Holmes alive and well in today's society. So that's.
But when you go to the website, I mean, you can download, if you're a subscriber. We're independent from CSL. We're not the same organization. We're our own 501c, and we have to fundraise on our own. And one of the things we do, which the best bargain you're ever going to find, is for, I think it's $120 a month, a year. You can download, I think it's 30 or 40 things a month. And that's tapes. I mean, that's video, audio. Well, there's a couple of videos, mostly audio. It's little pamphlets, books. Small books, Science Mind magazine going back to 1927, Creative Thought going back to 1955 or whenever it is. You can look up on your daily your daily messages. You can look up your birthday. I don't care when you were born, unless you were born before 1927. And look it up. Look up the instruction for that day, print it out, frame it, hang it on the wall. I mean, or give it away for gifts. You can do that from, that's just one of the things we do. When you go to the website and you say, gee, if I joined the club, there were just unbelievable things of access that you can get to, and more every day, literally. So please think about that if you're not already a subscriber.
Well, thank you. It's the top of the hour and time to close, so I'll do that. Is it possible to get affirmation toward the end of the recording today? Is it possible to get the affirmations mentioned toward the end of the recording today? I'm sure there are. So, but anyway, hang on, and Felix, and let's do the benediction, and then we'll answer the question. So, thank you for Dr. Ernest Holmes and the Science of Mind. Thank you for Dr. Jim Van Cleve and the board and staff at the archives. Thank you for everyone in today's call, and for keeping the idea that we are ever evolving and that the world is constantly becoming alive. I'm so grateful for this day, so grateful for this philosophy that has changed my life and so many lives, and that it continues to change lives, and that as we move forward in this one mind, love prevails, for there is one life, and that is the life of God, and it is the life in each one of us. And for that, I am especially grateful. So knowing all is well, I bless us all and know that we move forward in this day perfectly. And so it is. Amen.
So it is.
So it is. And thank you, Reverend Martha, for putting this together and getting it off and running.
Thank you so much.